Good afternoon and welcome to today's Adweek webinar, Get Your CTV Campaigns in Shape for Summer, Time to Rethink Your Strategies, sponsored by Mountain. I'm Danielle Moore, Senior Manager of Webinars here at Adweek's Content Studio, and I'll be your host today. Before we begin, I want to take a moment to make sure everyone knows what to expect from today's webinar and is familiar with the features of our platform. The actual presentation should go somewhere in the 25 to 30 minute range, after which we'll have time for audience Q&A. So if at any point you have a question for our speaker, just use the Q&A tool beneath the video window on your screen, and we'll get to as many questions as we can before the end of the presentation. Also, it's not too late to invite your colleagues to join us at today's webinar. About 15 minutes ago, you received a final reminder email from us. In there, you'll find a link to the webinar registration page that you can share with your colleagues. There's still plenty of time for them to join us live, but if they can't, today's webinar is being recorded, so they can always catch the on-demand version. And in fact, the on-demand recording will be available to all registrants. We'll be sending you a link to that later today when it's live, around 3:30 Eastern. And if you would like a PDF of today's slide deck, you'll find that in the event resources area on your screen. As always, if you enjoy today's webinar, definitely check out the full Adweek webinars calendar at adweek.com/webinars. You'll see what we have coming up and also get access to our archive of on-demand webinars. Now, let me introduce you to today's speaker. We're happy to be joined by Mike Scalise, Director of Customer Success at Mountain. Mike works to ensure that clients are able to fully adopt Mountain's self-serve platform to meet or exceed their performance TV goals. He has a proven track record in providing strategic recommendations for advertisers adopting CTV as a driving force in their performance marketing mix. We've got some great content to dive into today, so let me bring Mike up on screen to get us started. Mike, thank you so much for being here today.
Thanks for having me, Danielle. I'm happy to be here. So I'll dive into my slides now. Just want to make sure everyone can see. Let's go ahead and kick things off. As Danielle said, name's Mike here, one of our directors of customer success at Mountain. And I'm here today to talk to you about your CTV summer strategy. We'll kind of run through, try to keep this very light and easy. Feel free to send your questions over my way, as Danielle said. But the main takeaway today is that this summer is poised to be one of the biggest seasons in recent years for experiential travel and tourism brands, if they just deploy the right strategies, of course. I know there's been talks of this looming global recession and where the world's heading, but right now, what we're seeing in this moment, in this time for summer specifically, primarily in the experiential travel and tourism brands, is there's no slowdown. It's actually quite opposite. So today, what we hope to cover is, one, why this summer will be the biggest in years for travel. Again, experiential and tourism marketing. How CTV is driving powerful summer campaigns that might make a lifelong customer for your brand. What established CTV and marketing tactics should be reactivated and that might need a little dusting off after a quiet few years. And then what technologies and tactics might have changed since the last big summer for live events in 2019. So as we mentioned, summer events are back and we're really seeing quite a large return to 2019 activity. There's expected to be about 95 billion in summer travel this year. 85% of adults are interested in traveling this summer. And 6 in 10 Americans are planning at least one summer trip. I don't know about you, but I have seen a recent increase in my social feeds of friends and family all traveling. So I feel like, at least from what my little bubble and personal world is showing, that this is definitely true. So what does this really mean for marketers and advertisers? A tidal wave is coming, so to speak, and we have to be ready for this surge and increase in customers that we might be able to reach. There's been, low to no activity the last few years, and that might make you a little unprepared. So habits that have been formed during COVID might need to be updated or changed, dropped altogether. There's been new technologies and tactics that have appeared since 2019, when that might be in the last summer or season that you reached your audience. And some established strategies might have gone dormant, right? Things have changed. There's this quote unquote new normal out there. And how do we take advantage of being at the forefront of that and reaching our clients and our customers where we need to? Building the next wave of brand loyaltists is really kind of what we're at this stage. This summer, brands cannot be caught flat-footed. So many consumers are resuming activities or participating for the first time. They will be in the form of new buying habits and be building brand loyalty for the first time. It's a great opportunity for brands to build positive associations by being a key party of consumers' return to normalcy. You know, this is a new opportunity for people to get in front of consumers for the first time in a couple of years as people are looking to travel again, or itching to travel and desperate to travel. I was reading an article the other day, I think it was in NPR, about this quote unquote revenge travel focus that people have and making sure that they get out and get to see the world and visit new places. So I think it's a really big and opportune time for brands to make sure that they're a part of that and introducing potentially, I should say, reintroducing themselves again, marketplace. So why is CTV at the center of this all, right? People are getting eager to get out and see the world, as we've talked about. And something that's really important that CTV has that maybe you don't necessarily see all the time in other channels, but CTV creates this audio and visual format that really taps into that fear of missing out, or FOMO. And it creates an excitement, and it shows you what's happening and what's waiting for you outside in that world. And that kind of big screen is a window into what's out there. And during summer, people are outside traveling, right? They're not as much in home. They're enjoying the nice weather. And this makes it harder to pin down when and where they're watching TV, like on linear TV buys. And fun little quote here is TV is the summer, in the summer is on demand and not by appointment. So what does that really mean, right? Reaching the right viewer, putting that audience first. That's really important here when we want to reach those users. CTV's audience first approach finds the right viewer. CTV buys should be based on what the audience watches and not specific programs. Audiences can be segmented by tastes, demographics, or location. And what this really allows for is tailored messaging in your creative, and budget being spent on audiences that are likely to engage. This is really important, and we'll get into this a little bit more about those interest-based segments, but having that ability to reach your user wherever they are and whenever they're streaming versus at a set time is going to be really important. In addition to your audience, we got to talk about the creative refresh, right? Having that ability to be nimble and quick is really important here. CTV's nimbleness allows you to create your creative to be updated and deployed quickly. So a couple examples here on this. Sports teams can refresh their ads for each new game pretty easily, right? Festival concerts can easily be updated if there's any change to the lineup. And also ads can be updated to reflect any postponement dates or cancellations. And not every CTV solution offers that. I think that's really important, just having that flexibility. We really want to make sure that our ads that we're serving and reaching these users wherever they are ringing true and that that message makes sense. So want to make sure that you can easily adapt to this changing environment at the drop of a dime. Another important thing is really being able to keep it local, right? The benefits of geotargeting. Geotargeting is an excellent way to focus advertising on nearby or traveling audiences, right? We're talking about experiential, travel, and tourism, and really focusing on kind of maybe that location base that users might be visiting. So it's really important to kind of focus those ad dollars at those locations. Brands not associated with an event like a restaurant can tie themselves to it anyway. It can be used for businesses to target incoming tourists, can be used to customize creative around the country. So one good example here is that warm weather is finally here, plays better in northern states than in the Sun Belt or where I am in Southern California. That good old warm weather is here quite often. And putting this into practice, kind of in a live event, we can go through one of the case studies that we have at Mountain with the Atlanta Hawks. The Hawks use geotargeting and creative refreshes in action. The Atlanta Hawks use Mountain's performance TV to drive ticket sales. So what they did is they deployed 2 different ads, and they allowed those ads to have a message that used really timely call to actions, something like buy tickets now, really making sure that that user knew what to do that saw that commercial. Each follow-up message then was templatized so that the team could update dates and opponents fairly easily. So with every game that passed, they could easily hop into the platform, switch it out to the next opponent and the next dates, and really kind of nimbly create ads that were concurrent with what was happening. Additionally, they used Oracle's data cloud through the Mountain platform to target sports-loving and live events-going segments in a geo-targeted Georgia area. Makes sense, right? So how did they do? They saw a 24% site visit rate and a 7x return on ad spend. So this is important because these type of metrics are what we see when you're deploying performance TV and creating a message that's targeted to a specific audience. So in addition, there's some hot new CTV strategies out there, and Mountain's been at the forefront of deploying new strategies and updating our platform to keep up with the trends, if not leading them. So while events and experience might have slowed down the last few years, technology and marketing strategies really haven't. New methods have either appeared or risen in popularity. Things like affinity-based targeting, which finds new audiences that are most likely to convert, or our audience segment reporting, which gives you a deeper dive into audience segments. So we'll talk a little bit more about affinity-based targeting. Affinity-based targeting reaches potential customers who never engage with your brand but have strong interest in similar products or competitors. It unlocks new opportunities as viewers look to experience more this summer. So there's some examples on screen of a car race targeting performance car enthusiasts, or a tourism town targeting frequent vacationers, and a music festival targeting high spenders for music concerts and festivals. I think this is really important in the pause here, just because that's one large differentiator in what CTV has to offer, and specifically with Mountain, our integration with Oracle Data Cloud gives us access to thousands and thousands of audience segments that you have to target. And so creating a message that then is specific to your audience that you're looking to target is going to be key here, and what we believe is a key factor in also driving a little bit stronger performance that you might not see if you didn't create as much of a tailored message. Cool thing is, if you don't believe me, you can also test it through some A/B testing within the platform, and you can really measure and get the data that you would like to test against 2 different audience groups, right? So maybe you're looking to test one segment that you think is going to perform really well against maybe an adjacent segment that might accompany a really strong effort, but you're just not quite sure. Really cool that you have the ability to test and to measure that and see those results within our platform. And how you can see those results are through our audience segment reporting. So this allows you to take a deep dive into the data that you're seeing. It lets you drill down to view performance data tied to each audience segment, which is really cool. It gives a detailed picture of the exact high value customers that drive conversions and revenue. And it can be used to optimize expansive targeting and drive better performance. These learnings can be applied across the marketing mix, informing better targeting strategies on channels with limited reporting. And I've seen time and time again, some customers that I work with at Mountain, that they are interested, intrigued, and surprised by who's interacting with their ads or on what networks, and how they can kind of take these strategies that they're learning and apply them elsewhere. These reports that we are offering and this data that we have to share on our platform, I think is really helping create a more robust, just marketing strategy in and of itself. And specifically, as we look at this summer and as we're taking advantage of this increase in traffic and users to your site, potentially that are looking to travel or maybe go to a live event for the first time, these type of reports can really give you an upper hand on how you plan. So Mountain, we're just warming up with this. Performance TV's really goal is to take this further. It allows you to maximize the abilities of CTV, whatever your performance metrics are. So living room quality, our ability to reach your users on that large screen and really focus on that full kind of programming. Cross-device verified visits, that's our own technology that Mountain has built to measure the user interaction from your TV commercial all the way back to site and converting. We have our Google Analytics integration, which is really cool. Our platform can plug into GA and you can see your CTV campaign just alongside all your other campaigns that you're running within GA. Our performance optimization engine, of course, we're talking about technology here that's in the driver's seat, really optimizing multiple times a day to really drive that performance forward. We have a customizable dashboard within our reporting tool. It's quite a robust tool. I can spend a lot of time talking about reporting and the data that's in there, but it's completely customizable so that you get what you want out of your reporting data and that it's, you know, important to you and what you need. I mentioned earlier A/B testing, but we do have the capabilities to run A/B testing, which is really cool. Not a lot of advertisers probably have run a lot of A/B testing, specifically with CTV, and can see the type of data that we can pull from that. So again, if we wanted to go back to talk about the audiences or the creative strategies that you're deploying, whether it's this summer or any other time of year, you can test those. You can test those specific messaging against specific audiences and learn from that. Transparent reporting, talked about that a few times here. Those transparent reporting metrics that we have within our platform really give you as a marketer the ability to read your data and act on it pretty fast. Something newer with TV and just TV in general is that ability and viewability into performance in quote unquote real time. And then fast advertising mentality, really being able to adapt, right? There's a lot of unknown in the world and potential changes to plans can happen at the drop of a dime, and we've got to be able to adapt and react to those pretty easily. So having a platform that gives you the functionality within, you know, just a couple minutes to switch out a creative and have it run is pretty key there, especially as we have to deal and battle the unknowns. That planning is really the important step here to keep in mind. So as we kind of conclude, if this is your first slide you're seeing and enjoying, it's probably the most important slide to take away then from this webinar today. But the first thing that we wanted to just make sure that's clear is that this summer is really going to be poised to be one of the biggest years, or I should say recent years, for experiential travel and tourism brands. Secondly, consumers are returning to what we call this new normal and will be forming new buying habits and brand loyalties. Right? So it's the time to get in front of your potential customers, to get your brand out there, to message, to really take that opportunity that lies out in front of you and connect with those users that are starting to travel and leave the home for the first time in what seems to be like quite a long time. 3, CTV, with its ability to target specific audiences and measure performance, is a key tool for brands looking to maximize this summer's opportunities. I think the main thing here is really that we're talking about is the specific audiences and how those impact your performance. And how you can use a tool like Mountain to really maximize that opportunity in the marketplace. And lastly, Mountain Performance TV takes it one step further by maximizing the features of CTV. We really do have quite a lot of features, and we're constantly working on deploying new features when and where we can. I know our engineering team is very busy, and it's exciting to see what's to come within the platform itself. I want to thank you all for your time today and running through the slides and being a part of this. We'll move into some Q&A where I'll invite Danielle back on screen to help facilitate some questions.
Thank you so much for those insights, Mike. So much great seasonality to discuss. Really excited to get to these questions. As you mentioned, we do have time to take a few questions. We'll get to as many questions as we can over the next 5 to 10 minutes or so. To our audience, just so you know, if we don't get to your question, we always make sure that they get forwarded over to our sponsor so that they have the opportunity to possibly reply offline. First, a couple of quick reminders before we get to questions. Today's webinar has been recorded and will be available on demand later this afternoon. We'll be emailing everyone a link to the recording, so keep an eye out for it. And if you would like a copy of today's slides, you'll find those in the event resources area on your screen, so feel free to grab them. Now, let's get to some of these questions. The first question that I have for you, Mike, as I mentioned, you shared some really great seasonal insights with regards not just to summer, but to summer 2022 specifically, which, as you pointed out, is super unique. We have all been in this sort of pandemic mode of thinking, and there might be some things to unlearn here. But one of our audience members had a great question, which is how can experiential or travel brands apply these tactics to fall and winter campaigns? So looking a little bit ahead to the next few seasons.
Yeah, I think the same thing rings true for summer as any season that we have, right? The good thing is this isn't specific to summer. It's specific to just kind of that seasonality change that you might experience. I think one thing that's really interesting to think about is imagine, you were running a summer campaign. You're like, oh, I don't need to change creative. I can use this and run through maybe fall and winter. But that creative has maybe a beach feel and you're targeting, people outdoors. And maybe if you lived in Chicago, like my wife's family, and you're cold and you're just waiting to get back outside and you saw that, it might make you feel a little disconnected from the message. So having that ability to be nimble with your creative and change it and have a message that is deployed to a user or an end user of your potential product in the right area is going to be huge. Similarly, people's habits also change within a year as well. So somebody that might be looking to target, let's say, for example, a surfer over summer is not going to be the same type of message that maybe they want to target a skier or snowboarder during the winter season. So right. How can you be nimble and adapt and change and allow your creative and your targeting to follow with that? I think those same kind of learnings are really going to be applied no matter what the season is. And we're just happen to be in summer, so we're talking about the summer season.
Got it. Thank you, Mike. Some great perspective there. Our next question, which I think is a great one for anybody who's just a bit less familiar with CTV overall. What about CTV makes it uniquely able to accommodate ad creative changes that other tech like linear and ad trafficking systems can't? Can you speak to that at all?
Yeah, absolutely. So, with CTV, I think one of the cool things that our platform that allows for is that, when you run a campaign and you have reporting in real time within Mountain, it allows you to measure and make changes that you might not have because you're waiting on data, right? You maybe have to wait to your flight to be over before you can get the data in your hands and see how it ran. That ability to be kind of live and see how your metrics flow in from CTV, just like it might apply to like a search or social campaign, really is helpful in being adaptive. I think that's really key here in marketers' ability to make these changes that they need to. As we kind of talked about too briefly in the presentation, with the recent changes in the world and coming back to new normal, how can you be best prepared to change on a dime if you need to and change your strategy if you need to? And I know as marketers, oftentimes we need data to back us up when we're making these decisions, especially to our bosses, that we're not just saying, hey, believe me. It's like, here's the data that can back me up in what I'm saying. And I think that's going to be really key here, that you might not necessarily get as readily available potentially with sometimes a linear buy.
Got it. Thank you for that, Mike. Our next question is a little bit more tactical. This is something that I think a lot of audience members might find useful if they're just getting started in the space. And that question is, what length of video would you recommend for a CTV ad?
Yeah, good question. We get that often. So CTV ads are going to be either a 15-second or 30-second spot. That's standard across networks that we run on. Our recommendation can fall somewhere either or, just depending on the type of message that you need to get out. 15-second spots do a really good job for a lot of brands. But if you have a little bit more in your content that you're looking to share with your audience, 30 seconds is great. Gives you just that much more time to connect, to grab their attention, to share a little bit more information. But those are the two spots that we run within the CTV space at Mountain.
Got it. Good to know. Our next question is a little bit more specific with regards to segmentation. I think it's a fun one, though. A little left field, but can you segment audiences by video game enthusiasts? Someone asks, and by extension, other types of enthusiasts. Thoughts on that?
Yeah, absolutely. I mentioned that we have integration with Oracle Data Cloud, and that gives us thousands of different segments that we can target by. And within our platform, you could search all of those thousands of segments. And I know for a fact that there are video game enthusiasts within there. We have multiple different kinds of enthusiasts and different affinities that you could build audiences around. People that are interested in, concerts or travel goers. There's also people that are new home buyers or first-time movers, things of that nature. There's a lot of different things that you can build an audience on that our platform allows and gives you insights into.
Got it. And speaking of insights, we have a question here about a tool that's very popular. And I know you mentioned earlier in the presentation, so definitely want to make sure we get to it if there are a lot of Google Analytics users out there. An audience member asks, how exactly do you integrate with Google Analytics? Is that done via UTM? What does that integration look like?
Yes, we have a direct integration using Google's API, but you could always reach out to Mountain's platform experience team for like an in-depth, robust explanation. It does get quite technical, which kind of goes over my head, but you do have the ability to implement UTMs within your Mountain platform. But the exact integration, I would say that for more of a technical person, and we have, I think, documentation on the site as well. And I could also send you over, Danielle, maybe some knowledge-based articles as well that kind of cover the exact specifics of how that's built.
Nice. Lots of resources available there. Good to know, Mike.
Oh, yes. We have quite a lot.
Perfect. So thank you so much, Mike. That is all the time that we have for questions. Of course, I'd like to thank you again, Mike, and our sponsor, Mountain, for providing this lovely presentation today. A few final reminders for our audience. Make sure you download the slides from the event resources area on your screen and check your email for a link to that on-demand recording, which will be out later today around 3:30. If you enjoyed today's webinar, as always, be sure to check out the Adweek webinars calendar to learn more about our upcoming events at adweek.com/webinars. Again, big thank you to Mike. Thank you so much for joining us today. Thank you to our audience for being here, and we look forward to seeing everyone at an upcoming Adweek webinar.